Welcome students. Now we are going to discuss about the photochemistry. All of you know the photochemistry, it is nothing but the interaction of matter with the radiation. That means when light or radiation incidents on a matter, what happens with that matter, it is studied in the photochemistry. This lecture is represented by S.N. Potfode from Department of Chemistry, Arts, Commerce and Science College, Palus, District, Sangli. What is photochemistry? As already I have told you, the photochemistry, it is nothing but the reaction of matter with light. Photochemistry mainly deals with the study of rate and mechanism of the chemical reactions that involves by the absorption of electromagnetic radiation. When electromagnetic radiation, it is a band of certain wavelengths arranged either in increasing wavelength or decreasing frequency, and that consists of gamma rays, X-rays, UV, that means ultraviolet rays, visible light, infrared and microwave radio waves. Particularly in photochemistry, when a matter absorbs light in ultraviolet and visible radiation, and the range of visible radiation, it lies in between 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer. What happens when a radiation is incident or irradiated with a molecule? We know that molecule, it absorbs the energy and becomes enriched in energy, or the scattering of the molecules takes place and the electrons in the molecule, they jumps from lower energy state to the higher energy state. Here the phenomenon of absorption of light by the matter, it consists of the migration or transfer of electrons from lower energy to the higher energy orbitals, and the process of emission, it is quite refers to that of absorption process. In this emission process, the electrons in the molecule, they jumps from higher energy to the lower energy orbitals by the re-radiation of absorbed emission. In photochemical reaction, each molecule of a reacting species absorbs a single photon of radiation, causing a reaction, and it gets activated and then it forms a product. Suppose for example, we have A, it is our reactant. It absorbs one photon, that is H nu energy, then it becomes enriched in energy and it becomes excited, and the excited molecule, it is shown by putting star over the head of that species. Here A, it is our molecule, so we have put star on its head. It indicates the excited A. This excited species has a minimum lifespan, so it immediately emits the absorbed radiation and it forms a product, and this is called as re-emission or fluorescence or phosphorescence, and the overall reaction we can write as A plus H nu, that means photon, it gives the product B. In practice, we use molar quantities, that is 1 mole of A absorb 1 photon or 1 Einstein of energy E, and the value of energy E can be calculated by using the expression given below. We have E, it is equal to 2.859 divided by lambda, that is the wavelength, into 10 raised to 5 kilocalories per mole. Here the photochemical reaction, particularly when hydrogen gas and chlorine gas we put in a dark, at that time there is no photochemical reaction takes place, but when it is carried out in presence of light, the combination of hydrogen and chlorine takes place to give two molecules of HCl gas. This is the particular example of photochemical reaction. So to recall, a photochemistry, it is nothing but the study of rate and mechanism of a certain chemical reactions. They occurs due to absorption of light radiation only within the range UV and visible spectrum. And there are other types of chemical reactions. They caused by or they occurs due to the heat in absence of light. That reactions are called as normal reactions or dark reactions or thermal reactions. Here we can see certain distinguishing points between photochemical reactions and thermal reactions. All of you know photochemical reactions that takes place or occurs only when a matter or substance or reactants involved in photochemical reaction, they absorbs light. All these reactions are photochemical reactions, and the thermal or thermochemical reactions that takes place due to absorption of heat or evolution of heat, that means other than light. The second distinguishing point between photochemical and thermal reaction is that the presence of light is the primary requirement for the photochemical reactions to take place, and in case of thermal reactions it is not the primary requirement. These reactions can take place in dark as well as in light also. Then the third distinguishing character we can say in terms of temperature, as temperature has a very little effect on rate of photochemical reaction, and in case of thermochemical reactions temperature has a significant effect on the rate of thermochemical reaction. Then the next point regarding the free energy. Here in case of photochemical reactions, the free energy it increases because the photons or absorbed energy by the reactant, it get converted into the free energy of products in case of photochemical reaction, and this is the reason why photochemical reactions that takes place or they accompanied with the increase in free energy. And in case of thermochemical reactions, remember well, the free energy it always decreases. Then photochemical reactions takes place by the absorption, and this absorption of light it is quite selective one. And in case of thermochemical reactions, the activation it is not selective in nature. So we summarize the distinguishing characters between photochemical and thermal reactions as the first point, photochemical reactions occurs in presence of light. Temperature it is not a significant factor. Then second, free energy of the reactions it increases, and photochemical reactions are highly selective. I will explain you what is the selective nature of photochemical reactions, and quite opposite of this, the dark reactions or thermochemical reactions occurs due to absorption or evolution of heat. They takes place in absence of light, and temperature has a significant effect on the rate of thermochemical reaction. For thermochemical reactions, delta G is a decreases, that is a negative, and they are not selective in nature. Then the study of photochemistry, it is governed by the 4 laws, and that laws are: the first law of photochemistry, it is the Grotthuss-Draper law, and second law of photochemistry, it is the Stark-Einstein's law. The statement of first law, it is that only the light which is absorbed by a molecule can be effective in producing photochemical changes in the molecule. And the significance of this law, it does not mean that all the light absorbed by molecules, it does not cause a photochemical reaction, but only certain radiations that are absorbed, they are effective in producing the chemical change. And the second law of photochemistry, it is also called as the law of photochemical equivalence, and it states that in the primary process, each and every molecule, it absorbs one photon of the radiation. It becomes activated, that means enriched in energy, and that energy absorbed by each molecule, then and then the photochemical reaction occurs. Without absorption of radiation or photon, photochemical reactions does not take place. The energy absorbed by 1 mole of reacting molecule is given by E, it is equal to NH nu. This energy is called 1 Einstein, where N is the Avogadro number, H is Planck's constant, and it has a value 6.625 into 10 raised to minus 34 joule second, and nu is the frequency of radiation, that is nu it is equal to c by lambda, where c is the velocity of light and lambda is the wavelength. Then the third law of photochemistry, it is the Lambert's law, and the statement of Lambert's law is when a monochromatic or heterogeneous light radiation incidents on a absorbing medium, then the intensity of incident light, it decreases with the path length of the absorbing medium, and it is first shown by the scientist E. Goer, and his ideas are simply extended by the Lamberts. That means the credit of the E. Goer scientists, it goes to the Lamberts, and further the scientist Beer, he extended this idea of Lambert to the solutions. That means the Beer's law states that when a homogeneous or monochromatic light incidents on any absorbing medium, then the decrease in intensity of the incident radiation, it is proportional to, or it depends on, the thickness of absorbing medium as well as the concentration of the solution. And mathematically, the transmission, it is given by the fraction of incident light that is transmitted. It is it is in the form of equation. It is written as T, it is equal to I by I0, or it is also equal to 10 raised to minus alpha into L, where L it is the thickness of the absorbing medium, and it is equal to 10 raised to minus epsilon CL. The log of T, it is called as, that means transmission, it is called as optical density, while the reciprocal of transmission, that means I0 by I, it is called as opacity, where I0 it is the intensity of incident radiation before entering into the absorbing medium, and I, it is the intensity of incident radiation after incident radiation passes through absorbing medium. In this diagram, it is clearly shown that the I0 intensity, it is greater when it passes through the thickness L. The intensity of incident radiation, it gets decreased, and this is the Lambert's-Beer's law. Then we come towards the fluorescence and phosphorescence. All of you know the molecules are composed by means of large number of atoms, and in atoms, all of you know, at the center there is a nucleus, and around the nucleus the electrons are revolving. Here in the ground state, all the molecules, they have a paired spin. That means the two electrons, they have upward spin as well as downward spin, and we can say that the spin is paired. When any molecule absorbs energy, then the changes in the electrons takes place. The electrons, they get transformed from lower energy to the higher energy, as we have already seen. Here, when the electron spin, or when electron it jumps from lower energy to higher energy by the absorption of photon, and the pair of electrons with opposite spins but in a different orbital, then the spin multiplicity, it is equal to 0, and that state we can call as the singlet state, when the two electrons are in different energy levels. This is called as singlet excited state, and when the electrons spin are paired and they are in the ground state, the spin multiplicity, it is equal to 0, and that state, it is termed as singlet ground state, denoted by S0. And when the spins are paired, they have their spin multiplicity equal to 1, and the S, it is equal to 1, therefore 2s plus 1, it becomes 3, and that state we call as triplet state. Here the 2s plus 1, it is the spin multiplicity rule. We can calculate the spin multiplicity, and here S, it is the total spin. That means when the two electrons, they are shown in upward direction, the sum of these two, it is plus 1, and when they have one is upward direction and one electron with the downward direction, their sum is 0. That means spin multiplicity, it becomes 0, and we state that state as a singlet excited or singlet ground, depending on the spin of the electron. When opposite spins, we have singlet states, and when pair of parallel spin, we have triplet state. Remember, the excited species can return to the ground state by losing all of its excess energy by one of the paths shown in a Jablonski diagram. Here, the scientist Jablonski, he studied the process of phosphorescence in 1886. Jablonski diagram depicts the processes of fluorescence, phosphorescence, internal conversion and inter-system crossing. As all of you know, the singlet ground state, that means in the ground state all the electrons are paired and majority of molecules, they are with paired spin and they lie in a singlet ground state. Due to absorption of radiation or photons, they jumps from lower energy to higher energy level. Here S1 first, that means singlet first, singlet 2, singlet 3, depending on the extent of energy absorption. And when the molecule by the absorption of photon, it is at S1 level, that means singlet first level, it is in an excited state, it has a very less lifetime, it is in the order of 10 raised to minus 8 seconds. Within this very small lifetime, it returns back to the ground state with emission of light, and that phenomenon is called as fluorescence. Fluorescence, it is nothing but emission of radiation by the excited molecules. That means with the help of this Jablonski diagram, when the molecule at the singlet state absorbs photons, they transport to higher energy level, singlet first, and immediately it returns back to the singlet ground by the absorption of radiation. This phenomenon, it is called as fluorescence. Then the another process, it is the phosphorescence. Here phosphorescence, it is also the re-emission of absorbed radiation. As already we know, in the singlet ground, molecules absorbs energy, reaches to the excited singlet first or excited singlet 2, then it becomes enriched in energy, and that excited molecules, they have a little lifetime, very short lifetime, so it emits its energy in the form of either fluorescence or phosphorescence. Here in the phosphorescence phenomenon, the electrons in S1 state, they first comes to triplet 1 and then they returns back to ground state, singlet ground state. This takes too much time. Here the spin change of the electron takes place, and this process of phosphorescence, it is still continued for a long time after we remove the source of light, while the phenomenon of fluorescence, it immediately stops as soon as we remove the source of light. This phenomenon of phosphorescence, it is also called as delayed fluorescence, and this delay, it is due to transfer of electrons from singlet to triplet, and this requires a time. In short, this Jablonski diagram, it depicts the phenomenon of fluorescence and phosphorescence. That is the Radiative paths are represented by straight line arrows downward and upward arrows. Here are some examples of fluorescence and phosphorescence. The liquids or certain solutions, when exposed to a certain light, they emit these colored radiations. As we are very well familiar with the fluorescence phenomenon, these are the examples of phosphorescence. Then the process of chemiluminescence is the emission of light as a result of chemical reaction. Then bioluminescence is the production and emission of light by living organisms. It is a form of chemiluminescence. Bioluminescence occurs widely in marine vertebrates and invertebrates, as well as in some fungi, microorganisms, including some bioluminescent bacteria, and terrestrial invertebrates such as firefly. Then all of you are very well familiar with the photosynthesis process. The photosynthesis, it is nothing but the water and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere with the help of chlorophyll, and in presence of light it produces the glucose, fructose and oxygen. This process is nothing but the photosynthesis. Here this is a photochemical reaction. In the absence of light, the plants, they do not produce glucose and oxygen. Here the plants make their own food, and this process we call as a photosynthesis process. The chemical reaction of photosynthesis process may be represented as 6 molecules of H2O plus 6 molecules of CO2 and chlorophyll of the green leaves. It produces C6H12O6 plus 6 molecules of oxygen. Then the carbon cycle, all of you know. Trees, they absorb CO2 and emits oxygen. It is inhaled by the all animals. They releases CO2. Again it combines with the atmospheric environment and we have a rain. This is the carbon cycle. Again we can focus on the photosynthesis process. CO2, H2O, CO2 plus H2O, they combines and gives oxygen and sugars, and with the help of plants, algae and bacteria in presence of sunlight, with the help of water, they gives oxygen. And most living organisms, they absorbs oxygen, sugars and produces CO2 in the respiration. Summary of photosynthesis process. Light energy absorbed by chlorophyll A drives the reactions of photosynthesis, converts light energy into chemical energy to make organic compounds, and CO2 and H2O used to produce glucose and oxygen gas. Acknowledgement. Here I have used this site for preparation of my presentation. I am very much thankful for them. Thank you.